All right. Hello. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the sanctuary that is the Realms Commune. We're back for another episode today. How's everybody doing today?
Doing good.
I'm doing good. Yes.
Same.
So I'm Lalo. Again, I am a therapist by trade. I'm here to break some stuff down in terms of anything psychological or whatnot.
I'm Laramie. I am also a social worker. I'm also a little bit of the researcher, historian, and I'm kind of a human perspective, also the emotional impact, and kind of just walk people through what's going on.
And my name is Mario, and I am here to give more of a cultural perspective to things.
And I'm Gaia, a screenwriter, and I also am an historian with a middle age history PhD.
All right, Lalo, what do we have today?
So when experiences, happen over and over again, it stops becoming personal and becomes legend. So this is where we're going to start our myth and lore section, where we explore the culture and history behind the subject. And today, we are exploring a story surrounding Ouija boards.
Woo!
So Laramie kind of started talking a little bit about last time. And that's our researcher. She's going to share a little bit more about Ouija boards.
All right, Ouija boards. Everybody knows them. But the thing is interesting is that Ouija boards were not at the beginning as a negative kind of tool. So the idea for the Ouija board started with the spiritualism movement that erupted in the mid-19th century in the US and Europe. It was really brought to life by after the Civil War, when loved ones really wanted to communicate with the dead. In fact, in the White House, some of our presidents had, namely Abraham Lincoln and his wife, Mary Todd, they did a lot with spiritualism. Just a little fun tidbit. So, before the actual board was created, the board we're all familiar with, there was a lot of custom made.
For those that don't really know, who can provide a pretty good definition of what a Ouija board is?
Ouija board for me, or for anybody who doesn't know what it is. It's a board with letters. The ABC on it, and then a yes and a no, and some numbers.
Yep, I think goes 0 through 9.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like a keyboard, pretty much.
Then it's got what is that thing called?
Planchette.
The planchette.
Yeah, the one in Mexico has the ñ, and I'm sure the one in Italy has other, weird letters, I guess. I'll call it.
Yeah. I mean, we have the same letters, but I have to admit, Ouija boards in Italy aren't that big because we have the Catholic Church. They were among the first to label the Ouija boards as evil. So, and honestly, we only have one recognized satanic church in Italy that is in Volterra. So it's basically in Tuscany, but that's another point. Italy was never a fertile ground for Ouija boards users. We always had our supernatural community always had like a little bit of reverential terror for the board. Because in the Catholic religion, we are taught that if a soul belongs to a good person, it goes to paradise or it goes to purgatory for a time. If the soul belonged to someone really evil, it goes to hell. So, in this vision, there is no place for someone staying behind who can actually answer your call.
And then here we are in the US, where you can buy a Ouija board at any really board game store, and especially around Halloween, and like at a spirit of Halloween. So And not even just a Ouija board, but you can buy a Ouija board blanket, earrings, socks. Like, oh yeah, it's big here in the US.
They have a giant one in Salem as well.
And they have the Barbie edition.
Barbie edition. I was looking at
What?
Amazon actually.
The Barbie edition Ouija board. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hasbro did a Ouija board edition for $2,000 that is just totally bedazzled and gemmed out.
It had glitter, so no.
Perfect. I mean, I can't wait to get one. Absolutely. I mean, I love Barbies, as everyone who knows me knows. No, I don't. And yeah, yeah, no,
Yeah.
but I'm curious about how marketing works in the US. I will have to ask more questions about
Well,
that.
like I said, I saw on Amazon when I was just looking beforehand because I was curious. There's a Wednesday edition. There's a Beetlejuice edition. You know, where
Yeah. In
does it?
fact, one of the podcasts that I listened to, they came up with their own um, name of the podcast, the Ouija board, for people who want to buy it, of course. But
Yeah,
who knows? Maybe the Realms will come up with their own version of the Ouija board.
I don't know. That's kind of what we're trying to avoid. Do we know where it started? Who came up with it?
So the Ouija board was developed in 1890 by a gentleman of the name of Elijah Bond, and the purpose was pure fun. Nothing evil, nothing occulty. It was going to be a party game. So it was sold as a toy and party game by the Kennard Novelty Company, which was later bought by William Fuld. And it's interesting. So the board was not originally named Ouija. Lore has it that the board named itself. There was some people playing with it, and it spelled out Ouija with the French word oui for yes and ja for German. Yes. So that's how the name stuck. Now, we don't know if that's really true, but that's what the creators like to claim happened with the spirit board.
So it's a yes board.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yes,
Pretty
yes.
much. I've heard that same version on many other from many other podcasters that have mentioned, the that have done an episode on the Ouija board. According to their research as well, the board, was named itself pretty much.
Mhm.
Okay. Cool.
And so, yeah, so then the early 1900s, Ouija boards suddenly became all the rage. If you were going to go to a party, it was going to be there. That was going to be on the itinerary. It was mostly done by young women, because they were generally considered to be more receptive to the spiritual world, and usually it was young women who were throwing the parties. Let's see. Then the media reported cheerful stories regarding romance predictions and successful communication with the dead that ended in happy, cheerful moments. So that's good. So as of right now, everything was hunky dory, no stigma, no evils associated with it. It was just something to do with your friends, family, at a party for fun.
Yeah,
So
and it's always in every story I heard about the Ouija boards, it always starts as something inconspicuous, just some answers to basic questions, nothing scary, because of course that's how the devil works. It's not direct. It's not like in those movies in which the possession is made by the devil. It's never going to happen like that. It's always about the minions being
right.
sent to possess people for obvious reasons. I mean, if we are talking about a war that is as old as the world itself, and the two main generals in this war are God and the devil, they are not going to come personally for every single possession or to free every single person who was possessed. It's always going to be the soldiers to start the small battles. for obvious reasons. It's also a military logistic thing. If there is a war, the generals must be in charge of the whole battlefield. And the battlefield is the world. So they won't come personally to condemn or save you for obvious reasons.
Yeah, I will say though, I know that's totally true what you're saying about, like the general will send out the minions, but if I'm playing with a $2,000 Ouija board, I expect to get the general. Like,
You don't want to get the general there, Laramie.
No,
I'm
You don't
just
want to get the
saying,
general.
like, it's
Hey,
$2,000. I get more than just a little minion of hell. Thank you very much.
right.
uh,
So from the psychological perspective, right, and especially talking about this being a party game, not to be a party pooper, right? But it sounds like the marketing is based on, sensationalism or like experiences in general, right? Nobody wants to, I guess, really kind of have, either if you buy the expensive edition that's $2,000, or even spending $25 and being like, oh yeah, that was super fun. So what happened? It's like, oh, nothing, right? So I could definitely see how a lot of this can be just kind of stories that kind of create that kind of fear response, and how it can all just be almost close to a shared delusion, you know? But I'm sure there'll be more on that to come.
Yes. So now we're in the mid 20th century, and the Ouija board is starting to take a little bit of a downturn. During the mid 20th century, science, psychology is starting to blossom, kind of like what Lalo was saying. And so we've been having to start having explanations about what beforehand didn't know anything about. So scientists have now claimed that the so-called hand moving by the spirits on the planchette was actually a phenomenon known as the ideomotor effect. Now, what that is the thought that the subconscious muscle movement guided the planchette to make users feel like they weren't moving it because it was as expected. It's like, oh, okay, we do this now, you got to move. So your mind is subconsciously being like, okay, cool, let's move it, but you don't feel like you're you're moving it. And then with this kind of new information released, it threatened the practice of communicating with the dead by specialists, but it didn't make the spirit board go away. Um, it got even more condemnation when with the rise of the religious groups, kind of like Gaia was saying. It was condemned as evil, especially by the church, saying that it was associated with demonic possession, deception, and inviting in all evil spirits.
and
Yeah.
sorry. I
No, go
think
ahead.
the fact that Alistair Crowley was one of the most famous people who were actually using the Ouija board really helped to give it a bad name.
Yeah, think about it. I mean, if 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 I'm the evil guy trying to make something that is going to, on the long run, affect, it's going to have the effect I want on my enemies, you know, I'm going to make it work when I want it to work, and I'm going to make it not work when I don't want it to work, so that those skeptical can see that, oh no, it's your hands moving it, right? Because the proofs are out there. Because even though, yeah, they were able to recreate some of this stuff here in a laboratory and everything, you can't deny that there have been a lot of cases out there that are legitimate and true, of people who played the Ouija board and have gotten possessed.
So
And
you're saying,
Do you?
I think there were experiments, but I am not sure about that, in which the people were told not to touch the planchette, and the planchette moved
hmm,
even without touching it. So, um, I think the Ouija board is a very interesting field where believers and skepticals can really meet because there are proofs, quote unquote, on both sides. And we know that when you are in a group, maybe you know this group of people for many years, you tend to influence each the other members of this group of friends with your own opinion. So, is it real or is it a shared delusion that could happen just because the people taking part to the game with the Ouija board know each other? And so one experiments something and the other think they are experimenting and feelings the same thing. Is could it be this or is it something else? Because as Mario said, yes, there are some reports of people playing with the Ouija board and then ending up in need of spiritual help, very profound spiritual help.
One of the podcasters that I listen to, um, it's it's a Spanish. Its name is Leyendas Legendarias. The one of the main guys in the trio of guys that are in the podcast. He calls himself a Satanist, Satanist. He believes in the devil. He doesn't believe in God. He's more of a devil kind of guy, he says. And he's like, yeah, I believe this, I don't believe that, and I got my Ouija board and I play it all the time, and nothing ever happens. Which, to me makes a lot of sense because he's already there. He's already part of what the devil wants him to be. So why would I show you something? Why would I possess you when what I'm looking for is not you? I'm looking for the other guy.
Well, wouldn't the
You are
answer
Then
already
be,
one of mine.
but isn't the
Mhm.
answer that the devil's evil? So it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
You could just take anyone.
But
I
why
mean,
exert energy on someone who's already kind of in the fold in the army? Let's go ahead and let's save our energy and go for somebody who is foolish.
see now this guy here he's a podcaster. He does music and everything, and a lot of his songs, do have to do with the demonic. It doesn't. I mean, they don't incite people to go and do harm to anybody, but still, he's already have its own. He's already a soldier of him.
Hmm.
Maybe in the long run, recruiting people for him because they see that, oh, look at him, his name's Antonio. Look at Antonio, he's a Satanist, and he plays the Ouija board and he does all this and all that, and he's doing very well. Maybe I should be a Satanist myself. He comes as a role player here and a role model. I mean, so why would I take him out of my league? You know, even Jesus once said, if the devil starts attacking itself from the inside, where is that kingdom going to go? If this guy here is already on the inside, playing the Ouija board and everything, of course he's not going to get possessed.
Hmm.
But you see where I'm coming from, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't
but
know. I'll think
I
about it.
would like to ask this person, or if someone wants to answer, um, how does it work? How do you believe in one but not in the other?
So,
His
If the,
excuse,
if they are opponents, so the word is based on the contrast between two things, light and darkness, male and female, is always a duality. So if Satan exists, who is his opponent? If you don't believe in God, it's the same thing that always bothered me about something that happened in the 60s, 70s in the Catholic Church. Many priests will tell you that they believed in God, but they didn't believe in Satan, in the devil. one needs an opponent because Al-Satan in Aramaic means the enemy. So
So
if there is an enemy, the enemy of who or what?
in
So
in
if someone
Satanism,
wants
right?
to,
For what I understand, it's in some ways God is the enemy, but the appeal of it is that it's phrased and formed as a way of as kind of embracing free will, in that you have basically no strings attached. Because if you think about people who are, Christians, Catholics, or whatnot, right? They're very devout, right? They have to live their life by the word of God, right? And to some, there's kind of a turnoff in that of like, why do I have to follow anyone? Why can't I just not make my own destiny and fully kind of choose? So it's kind of the whole thing of almost trying to remove any kind of judgment in any actions that they do without feeling like they have to worship a greater power.
but at the same time, if you are Catholic, you know that God gave you the free will. So if we watch at things from a religious perspective, God is the one who gave us the free will.
But the argument is, even if you have the free will, you're still expect to obey.
Yeah, of course. But are you are you expected to follow the laws of God or the laws of moral? Because those things can be the same things, but can also mean two very different things. But again, if you have an enemy, who is the opponent? How do you believe only in one thing but not in the other? How do you make your balance in a world that has only one presence?
The thing is with these people, and I don't listen to this guy here because he's a Satanist or anything. Their podcast has nothing to do with that. That's just his beliefs. He's always mentioning it, but really the podcast I listen to, it's about stories, other like unsolved cases, mystery cases or ghost or whatnot. But either way, that's not the thing. The thing is that some of these people look at the world around us. They don't look at the spiritual world. They don't look at what's coming up next. They don't look for that. They look at what's going on right now in the moment. And they question themselves, if God exists, why does he permit this and that? Why does he allow this and why does he allow that? If God if God is real, why doesn't he get rid of the devil and let it all be good? And a lot of that stuff, a lot of the Satanist churches, what they do is that, I don't blame them for that. I mean, everybody's got their own strategic way of doing things, but they treat you really nice, and they're kind of generous in terms of giving out to the people and everything. And so these people like him look at that and say, look at this church over here. They worship the devil. They say the devil is bad, but here they are doing good. I'm going to join them. And that's what a lot of people follow. They are not following the spiritual. They're not looking for an afterlife. Some of them don't even believe there's going to be an afterlife, and that's the thing. That's where a lot of people move over to the other side, I call it, to the bad side, because I'm sorry for them. They're condemning themselves.
All of this brings us to the encounter, a real experience shared by the commune. So with that, I'll let Laramie take us on to our story for today.
All right. So our story was submitted, and names have been changed, but it was here's the story called the Ouija board story. All right. I never believed in this stuff, like at all. Ghost stories were fun, but I always assumed someone was lying or exaggerating. So when my roommate Laura pulled out a Ouija board out of her closet one night in October, I laughed and told her it was literally sold at Target. True story, actually. I did see it. I did see a Ouija board for sale at Target. Um, so
Lastimosa.
she didn't laugh. She just lit the candle. There were four of us: me, Laura, James, and his girlfriend, Penny. The lights were off, and the apartment already felt weird, like it was too quiet. We put the board on the coffee table and touched the planchette. It felt cheap but cold. I remember thinking that this was stupid. Plastic shouldn't feel cold. So Laura asked if anyone was there. Nothing happened at first. I relaxed a little. Then the planchette moved. Not fast, not like in the movies, just a slow drag, like something testing us. It stopped on yes. My heart started racing. I wasn't pushing it. I swear I wasn't. I even lifted my fingers for a second because I was scared it would keep going without me. So there we kind of have that ideomotor effect going on. That whole idea of like, oh, the planchette should be doing something, therefore we're going to make it do something, but in our subconscious, we're not doing anything. Um, what is your name? Penny asked. The planchette moved again, slow, careful. P-A-U-L. The candles flickered. When it finished spelling it, James laughed and said his uncle's name was Paul, but his laugh sounded fake. Nobody else laughed. How did you die? Laura asked. I didn't want her to ask that. The planchette moved faster this time. W-A-T-E-R. Water. My stomach dropped. I suddenly felt like the room was colder, like the air was thick and damp. Penny pulled her sleeves over her hands. No one said anything for a long time. So what do you guys? So now looks like they might have made contact with someone,
Or something.
something.
Yeah, I was thinking, I'm like, that's the only thing. I haven't played the Ouija board, but I feel like ghosts would probably get very annoyed with me. Just unless I have a piece of paper and I'm writing it down, I'm gonna get lost in some of those letters, especially if it's something more than 3 letters. I'd be like, what? Okay, wait, can you go back again? So yeah, I'm sure it works better for some than others.
All right. Where are you now? James asked. The planchette spelled home. Something creaked behind us. Not a loud noise, just close, like someone shifting their weight in the room. I kept telling myself it was the building. Old buildings make noises, but it felt like someone was standing right behind me, leaning in. After that, the board started acting strange. Sometimes the planchette went in circles. Sometimes it spelled things that didn't make sense. Once it stopped in the middle of the board and wouldn't move at all, no matter how hard we tried. Eventually, we said goodbye and blew out the candles. The apartment felt normal again. Too normal, like nothing had happened. Then stuff started happening. The faucet dripping even after we tightened it. Laura's window opened in the morning when she swore she locked it at night. A gross, smoky smell in the hallway late at night. James said it was nothing. I said it was nothing, but I stopped sleeping well. One night I was brushing my teeth when I heard something in the living room. A soft scraping sound, slow, familiar. I froze. I knew what it was before my brain would let me admit it. The planchette. It slid once, stopped, then slid again. I stood there with toothpaste dripping down my chin, staring at the hallway. When I finally checked, the board was still in its box under the couch, closed, untouched. After that, I slept with the lights on. Penny said we needed to cleanse the apartment. James made jokes. Laura found articles saying it was all subconscious stuff, that people move the planchette without realizing it, that believing makes your brain fill in the gaps. Maybe that's true, but we still decided to say goodbye again, just in case. We sat down one last time and touched the planchette. It moved slowly, like it didn't want to. When it finally reached goodbye, all the candles went out at once. No breeze, no reason. Things stopped after that, or maybe we just stopped paying attention. But sometimes late at night, when everything is quiet, I swear I hear the scraping sound again. just once, like plastic on cardboard. I keep telling myself it was us, our mind, stress, imagination. Still, I don't keep the board in my room. I never asked Paul what he meant by home.
Wise choice.
Yeah. So,
This is another one of those cases of people having a little bit of an encounter. Again, it doesn't mean that every single encounter with the Ouija board is going to end up in a possession. And it does too has to do a lot with how weak the person is and how weak they're feeling that day, or how their life is going too.
yeah, and actually, so we all know from the movies and everything that Ouija boards have rules. It always has the people reading the rules or being like, whatever rules, throws the booklet away. But what's interesting is that the game did not originally come with any rules. The rules were developed over time from people playing the game and I guess having experiences. So the rules that have finally kind of became the permanent ones are never play alone, always say goodbye, don't use it while emotionally vulnerable, don't play in graveyards or with mirrors nearby, and never ask about death or demons. So, kind of like you're saying, Mario, is that if you are really in a more vulnerable state, you really shouldn't be playing with this kind of stuff because, yes, that does make you a prime target to an entity that means harm.
Yeah. Now I think most of all this can be kind of explained psychologically, right? Why do people even play in the first place, right? If you play by yourself, if you play by something like that, it's you're looking for answers. You're looking to get a connection with somebody that's passed away, right? You're already emotionally kind of vulnerable if you're unsure of like the afterlife, if you're unsure of, is there God, is there devil, is there, So I think as Mario said in one of the other episodes, it's, if the devil exists, and that means that God exists, right? So sometimes it's even testing faith, right? And when you're already kind of there, right? Especially if you're playing with others, I mean, it can be that somebody moves it somewhere um a little bit, somebody else moves it a little bit more, so no one explicitly moves it all the way. It can be there can be a lot of different ways and reasons in which people get answers. Um but yeah, I mean I think most of the time things are fairly explainable. I mean, the one story that sticks with me sometimes. It's I remember one of my uncles saying that he played it, um, and after having an answer, he felt like he would wake up around 3 a.m. with his hands up in the air, like it was still making and forming forming the letters. But at the same time, it's like how much of that is just when something like that happens, right? It has a psychological impact on you. So obviously, you're gonna respond to that stimuli.
Yeah, and actually, the whole impact thing, what I did find in my research kind of repeatedly was that even though skeptics and the paranormal believers really debate about spirit boards, both can actually agree that the use of the board does create unsettling feelings and experiences, whether they're actually paranormal or if it's just, if you're with a group of friends, you're feeding off each other. And the big thing of why the Ouija board creates that feeling of that unsettling feeling is because with the Ouija board, you have the loss of agency. Even if you're doing it through the ideomotor effect, you're still having that loss of agency, and our brain doesn't like that. Doesn't not like not being in control. So when it's not in control or not able to be in control, everybody would find that disturbing. The feeling, the sense of loss of control is.
So there you
Yeah,
go.
this long battle going on between of the science and the spiritual. You know, it's one of those, especially with the Ouija board. It's one of those to where if a group of scientists get together and do an experiment here and there, and they get the results they want, they're gonna say, "Oh, look, we got the results we want. This doesn't work. It happens because of this or that." And then you have the same situation on the spiritual side, where a group of people get together and play it, and they get the results they were looking for, and then they hit them back with, "Look, this is the results we got. Explain this and explain that." They can't. Either one can explain the other because both things are happening. It's either making the scientists believe that it's all fake, and it's making the real believers believe what it's happening, that it's there. Now, what I want to suggest to anybody who plays the Ouija board or who's played it before and they've seen some changes in their lives, get in contact with somebody, talk it out with friends, you know, send us your comments, send us a message. If you think there's something not normal going on in your life, hey, we're here to help. There's help out there. That's the main reason we're doing this podcast for in the first place. If you don't think nothing happened after you played the Ouija board, good for you. Maybe you guys did it the right way and you opened the door and you closed it right up.
I
Good,
mean,
but it doesn't mean that it's going to be the same way next time you do it.
at the same time, right? Some of these experiences can be traumatic, right? Right? It's about if something does happen, not being alone and finding ways to face it, right? And that's why, like I'm sure that this will be a topic for future conversations, right? But if it's not the Ouija, right? There's crystals, there's at the end of the day, the Ouija board's just a door. It's a tool to communicate with the dead. And how many other tools aren't there throughout history, throughout cultures? And the experiences that leaves us with, I think that's ultimately what's worth talking about.
Exactly. And one of the big things that we do want to kind of leave is that, we understand there's the interest in the paranormal, the wanting to believe, the adrenaline rush. So if you want to play with the Ouija board, well, we do recommend not. Better be safe than sorry. But if you, really do, just be smart about it. Really do your research. Listen to the rules. Do it. Don't do it ever alone. And and again, if you do it, something happens. You can reach out to us or reach out to friends, family, whatever. But if you do it and you're experiencing something, don't go through that alone. Because because I know there's a lot of people out there, there's that stigma against it, but we're all curious. We all experiment every once in a while with the crazy intense stuff, and that's just normal human behavior. But do be cautious. We do implore you to do that. Is just be careful.
Right. So in the
And be
end,
polite.
Yes. These
Be polite.
These are not even
Whatever.
contact spirits. They're people. They're people just like us. And so you probably wouldn't like somebody asking you, "Hey, how did you
I
die?"
don't know
Give us all the
about that,
details.
Laramie.
Not,
We
not all
don't do
entities
that.
were humans.
We might have a little bit of a disagreement between whether they're people or not, but either way, whatever they are not here to help us. Um, they're gonna make you feel good the first time, maybe, hoping that you leave a door open. So, if you're one of those people and have your first experience and you got a few answers you might wanted, close that door. Don't leave any doors open
Yeah.
for the good of yourself, the good of your family, the good of your friends, the good of humanity for that matter.
And before we
And
close out,
as
yeah, go ahead.
everyone said, if something happens, reach for help. Be that through us, be that through your friends, families, people you trust, be that a psychological help or a religious one. There are people out there who are there to help. So Just don't be afraid to reach out.
Exactly. And before we close out, interesting little fact. Who here knows what movie made the Ouija board so freaking famous?
The Exorcist?
Yes! Yep, the 1973 movie Exorcist. That is what brought the Ouija board to mainstream social media. So, if you haven't seen the movie, go watch it. It's amazing.
And watch the
It's
director's cut.
Yes.
All right. Well, in the end, we don't really know what the answer is, right? We only know that,
well,
what
the
people
answer can be
experience is
both
real.
things, Law.
Yeah, it's up to everybody to decide what it is that they believe. That's why we try to present the different views of it. So I appreciate everyone being here. And yeah, is there anything else before we leave off today?
No,
No,
don't forget to
just
follow us. Don't forget to click the subscribe button and make us grow. We're beginners of this here on this podcast, and we wanna see this thing here grow. So help us out.
exactly. And if you have an experience that you would like to share, please feel free to reach out to us. Reach out to our email. You can comment in this comment section. Again, you don't have to use your name. It can be anonymous, but we would love to hear your story, share it, and kind of give some insight to it. So
Any suggestions in terms of something different you guys think we should do, or I don't know, anything?
Yeah, any
Write us
Or
up.
if
let us know.
or if you have any suggestion about what we should talk about in the future episodes, let us know.
Yeah. All right, well, thanks everyone. Take care.
all right, bye.